Okay, so I just wanted to thank everybody for joining us. And today is going to be the third installment of our home staging and selling workshop. And I'm sharing my screen already with you guys, so you can follow along with me as I take you through this last section, of our home staging and selling. One of the best parts about this is that I've been able to do it in 3 sections, right? So in the beginning, we started with talking all about, what is home staging and home styling and how buyers really buy with their emotions first, and then they back everything up with rationalizing the purchase. So we need to make that emotional connection with our buyer. And that's really the fundamental truth and the fundamental goal of why we put so much time and effort into styling and staging our houses, and why it's something that you should consider doing. We went on to discuss some of the most important key steps in actually working on your house prior to going to market. And those were summarized here in 10 best tips to stage your own house for market, right? And those are all available on our website, which is staceyesser.com. And or if you need anything, you just can, of course, give us a shout out at info@staceyesser.com. And those are our 10 tips. I'm not going to go back through those, but of course, they're there for you whenever you need it. I'm going to spend the next section talking a little bit about condition and inspection. Before I do that, I want to just pop back and show you guys some before and afters of kitchens. Kitchens are the #1 room that I would be focusing on. This is not a house that I put up on the market, but this is a house that my painter did for somebody else. So he sent me some photos of it, and they use spray when they do these. They spray this kitchen, they spray these cabinets. They do not need to take them off the walls anymore, but they will spray them. And you could see, a before and after here. Again, not my house. This is not photographed for market. We would not photograph with all this stuff on it. But I just wanted to give you some of those photos, because people were asking about kitchen painting. I definitely suggest that if you're going to undergo one bigger project, this would be up there on my list of priorities. Kitchens are by far one of, if not the most important room to a buyer, to a prospective buyer. So even if you're not intending to do your countertops or your floor or your backsplash or even your appliances, just painting those kitchen cabinets will make a big impact on your buyers. And of course, try to look at the hardware, changing some hardware. Here are some other before and afters that my painter sent to me. And you could see, again, the only thing that was touched here was the paint color. That was it. Painting your cabinets, depending on the size of your kitchen, can run anywhere, in the few thousands to 25, 30,000. It just depends on the size of your space. Medium-sized kitchen is probably going to cost you somewhere between $10,000 and $12,000. However, if you were going to go and redo the kitchen and buy all the cabinets, it would cost you a minimum of double than that. So anyway, that's pretty specific to your town and to the kind of price point your house is in. Nonetheless, regardless of the price point, regardless of the town, painting and updating, little updates to your kitchen are going to make a huge impact. So let's go on to our third section. Again, thank you so much for joining me. I'm Stacy, and I am going to walk you through the third installment of our home staging and home selling seminar. And we're going to talk about inspection and condition. So those 2 words, inspection and condition, are absolutely connected. #1, a buyer is going to start to judge the value of your house by the way that they feel the condition of the house is, the condition of the house. So that's always going to be important to you. The other thing is that once you get into an accepted bid and you go through attorney review and you go under contract, you will have an inspection. I would say that 99% of all houses have what we call an inspection contingency. So that inspection contingency is a pretty giant hurdle, even in houses where a seller will say, well, everything is good. There's no issues with the house. I'm completely confident. And we are faced with situations like that constantly. And what we find is that the inspector's job is to find stuff. And regardless of how well you take care of your house, you will have people that are, you will have that inspector come in, and that inspector will want to see what are all the little nitty-gritties of the house. So my suggestion is that instead of waiting for the inspection to happen, my suggestion would be to look at not only the cosmetics of your house, the emotional connection of your house before you put it on the market, but also to address the big inspection items in the house. And that will help not only your buyer feel a sense of value and that the house has been very well maintained, but it will also help prepare you for that inspection. Okay, so let's start. So this is a slide I like because it's fun and it's a little exaggerated, but it becomes true, and you need to prepare yourself for this. This is how an inspector sees the house. This is how a buyer sees the house, and of course, this is how a seller sees the house. I think that sums up basically what we're going for here. And again, the goal is to bulletproof you, to get you in a position where you do not have to renegotiate the price of your house when you go to market. Backing up, so the condition of your home is always going to be important. We are looking to fix it to sell it. We need to note that structural could be just as important as cosmetic. And we want to give the buyer that wow factor. So let's move to this slide. So what to expect during a home inspection. So when you're selling your home, you need to be prepared that that inspection will happen about 7 to 10 days after you are in attorney review. And most likely your buyer will have multiple inspections. So that might include a general inspection. And then it might also include a sweep of your property for an oil tank, for instance. So my first suggestion to you is, unless you have proof that you've had an oil tank removed, or that you've swept your property for an oil tank, get ahead of that and get an oil tank. Get a company to come in and not only do a pre-inspection for the house, but also do an oil tank sweep. And that just will take that concern right off the table. The other thing that you should be thinking about is radon. Now, radon is a natural gas that comes from the ground. And in Bergen County, we have a lot of radon. And what we find is that radon, although remediable, can definitely put a sense of fear into your buyers. And so my suggestion is to get ahead of it. Obviously, it's not something you want to be living with either. However, you may or may not know you have it. And so go and call up a radon remediation company, and we've got multiples we could suggest. Have them come in and do a test. You'll find that the radon, the legal allowable limit is 4.0 PCUs. And if your house is anywhere close to it, your buyer, regardless of whether they're legally allowed to ask you for it or not, or whether you, in your contract, you don't have to necessarily remediate if it's above 4.0, if it's below 4.0, but I'm telling you that it's a fear and it's a deal killer. And if you have an opportunity to get ahead of it, my suggestion is to go ahead and get that radon test. So again, I would do an oil tank sweep, I would do a radon test. The other things that are going to be important are to get ahead of all of the maintenance on the larger items of your house. When we have an opportunity to show a buyer and an agent all of the maintenance paperwork, all of those maintenance contracts that you have on your house, it goes such a long way. First of all, it absolutely shows the buyer that you have taken care of the house, that you have maintained all of the major systems of this house. So HVAC, your roof, that your filters have been changed. Also, I would suggest that you you hire a pest company to start doing annual pest protection plan, an annual pest protection plan, because that's going to get into part of what that inspection contingency is going to be looking for, which are any kind of rodents, pests, bugs. When we get a report back that shows that there's a possibility of termites, then not only is it a battle because we've got to figure out if there's been any structural damage to the house, but we also will have an issue with the mortgage company. As soon as the mortgage company sees that there's any hint of termites, they will not actually, and they will not, they will not provide you with a mortgage unless you've been able to show them that that's all been taken care of. So again, what we're talking about right now are what you need to be doing to bulletproof yourself in order to pass an inspection. And so inside, in this page right here, we talk about a lot of those things, right? We talk about in the exterior, we want to clean out and repair gutters. You know, it's interesting, but most of the time when there's any water issue in a house, and you may think you do not have a water issue, but I guarantee you that you have not checked every crevice and every corner, gone in your attic, gone in your crawl space, the way an inspector is going to. And you will be surprised at what that inspector finds. So what I'm saying to you is don't get to that place of being surprised. Don't do it. So number one, you're going to get a pre-inspection so that you know what you have to deal with. Also, so that you know what you don't want to fix. And I'm going to say that again. A pre-inspection is not so you can be given a list of 20 items that you are now going to have to spend the money to fix or repair. A pre-inspection gives you an opportunity to be transparent, to be honest, to fill out a seller's disclosure, which we suggest, not mandatory, but we suggest it, to tell your buyer and tell your agent, here's what we know about the house. Here's what you're buying. It cannot 100% protect you from a buyer still trying to renegotiate on an older mechanical piece of equipment, but I can tell you that you have a lot more leverage when you have been transparent about any of these issues up front. So with that said, I'm going to remind you, we're looking for a pest inspection. We're looking for an oil tank sweep. We're looking for a list of all of the maintenance contracts that you have. If you don't have maintenance contracts or you haven't had your big system serviced, do so. Do so. I promise you, whatever minimal amount of money that costs you, it will make a huge impact to your buyers that are looking to see that you have taken care of that house and to the inspector, okay? You want to make sure that all of your electrical outlets are working. Sounds simple, but your inspector will test it all. You want to make sure that you have all your leaky faucets and or your drains unclogged and fixed. Testing the air quality for mold and asbestos. So let me stop on this for a second. We talked about radon, and I am suggesting highly that if you have not already, that you do so, go get a radon company to test your house. Again, that's a natural gas that comes from the ground and it comes through the basement. So it's easily remediable, but it's incredibly frightening to a buyer, and you could do away with it before you put your house on the market. Excuse me. If you have asbestos in your house, if you have asbestos tile, if you have asbestos wrapping, I'm going to tell you right now that your buyer is most likely going to want that removed, and it's going to cause a problem when your house goes to market and when you go contract to sale. These environmental issues are hot topics. They're hot topics. They're sensitive. And they eventually will, if you don't, what we have found is that unless you get ahead of it and you're willing to repair it, remove it, fix it, it will come back to you, and hopefully you'll get a chance to fix it. But in some cases, you will just lose the deal. Okay, so just because you've been okay living with it doesn't mean that your buyer today is going to be okay living with it. Just because you had an oil tank and it was filled and it was certified by your town and it was filled and it's still in the ground, but it was filled and it was decommissioned, doesn't mean that your buyer today is going to be okay with it. They are going to want that removed. So this is what's going on in today's market. You could either go with it or try to fight it, but I'm telling you, it will cost you in the end. So get ahead of it. These are the big things. These are the big ticket items, okay? You want to make sure all your toilets are working. You want to make sure that your stove is working, that everything has been tested. You want to make sure that your HVAC is working. If you are about to put your house on the market in the colder weather, that means that your AC is not going to be tested, right? We can't test your AC at a certain temperature. So one of the things that we try to do is have our companies, our mechanic companies, our HVAC companies certify that your HVAC, your air conditioning is in very good working order. Now, that is a very good way of selling your house in a colder season and not having to leave money in escrow just to make sure that that air conditioning is working. So I would absolutely recommend continuing to get your air serviced and to get any kind of letter from your maintenance company that your air conditioning is in good working order. Okay, so again, we talked about termites, insects, and rodents. I don't care if you don't think you have any kind of pest issue. I would say that probably 9 out of 10 houses has something, whether it's carpenter bees or a woodpecker that, pecked away at part of your siding. The point is, anytime that you have any insect damage, it's a potential for more harm. So termites are potential for major structural damage. It could get pretty bad, actually, if you have termite damage. Even if you have bought a house that had previous termite damage, right, and you don't have any proof that it was previous termite damage and that there were no structural issues, your new buyer is probably going to want that proof from you. They're going to want that. So do the work ahead of time and make sure that you cover yourself. So let's go, moving along. Cork and around doors and windows, removing damage. Hold on, somebody's talking to me. Let me see. Oh, that's why nobody's on it. Okay.
Exactly.
This isn't the one that was, oh my God.
No, this is in the Teams, which I jumped over to. I'm like, where is she?
Oh my God, that's so funny. Are people over there?
I don't know.
I have no idea. I tried to join for like 15 minutes.
Same.
And then I was like, it told me that there's another meeting in session. So I was like, maybe it's the one from.
That's so funny. I was like, okay, I guess nobody's here, so I'll just go ahead and do this. Oh, that's stupid. Okay, let me see. Hold on.
No, and then I texted Julia because I thought maybe there was something going on that I wasn't aware of.
I didn't
that it
mean
was
to write
supposed to be that link.
Teams's. I wrote Teams's. Teams's reoccurring, whatever. She got the point.
Okay, good.
Good call, Fiona.
Yeah, because I texted Jen too, and Jen was like, yeah, that's weird.
All right, I'm going to use
Oh, wait, yeah, I'm going to switch over to the other one too.